Hey, we're back. Got 5 plays. Stick around. Hello again, everybody. It's Greg with thebetterofficial.com. We craft video to help basketball officials get better and take control of their officiating career. If you're new here, first order of business, hit subscribe below and the notify bell so you don't miss out on any of our new content. We're super stoked. We've hit the 6,000 subscriber mark, and I'm super happy. Thanks so much. We still have an audacious goal of 10,000 subscribers, so if you haven't already, hit subscribe. We're also super stoked for all the coffee donations this week. Much appreciated and much love. You can buy us a coffee at abetterofficial.com/coffee. Now let's get started with this week's plays. What's on the menu today? First play we're going to be looking at is a screening play, the handoff screen, becoming more prevalent in high school basketball. Sometimes it can catch us by surprise. Also a screening play where we have to officiate off-ball action and be aware of where the ball is so that we can anticipate the play. Look at a rebounding play with super tough court conditions, an excellent example of what we face as high school basketball referees sometimes. We'll have a viral video, the flagrant foul that is unofficiated, a disaster for us anytime it happens in a game. And another viral video where a crew disallows a tap at the buzzer, how we can do better in those situations. And our You Make the Call play today is a goaltending play with a little bit of a twist. That'll be at the end, so stick around. Let's get started. All right, let's start today by looking at a screening play. Seeing more of this in the game, the handoff screen. By rule, this is an illegal screen and needs a whistle. Obviously, the illegal action leads to an open shot, so that it's illegal and definitely has consequences. So something we can do is identify when a team is running this kind of action that leads to this kind of play, right? If they're running an offense where pass and replace, I'm passing you the ball and then you're going to come towards me and I'm going to go replace your spot on the floor, etc., then we can identify this may occur. Sometimes they go under the defender, sometimes they go over the defender. But in all these instances, we just want to identify that this kind of action is occurring and be aware that we may have illegal screening by that former ball handler after the pass. So that's the first step, recognition. And when you see this play, this is obviously an illegal screen and must be called. On this play, the ruling is push through the screen by white 5. This is clearly a call incorrect on this play, and let's take a look at some reasons why we might have gotten this wrong. Review the basics. When we are officiating off the ball, we want to be ball aware, but officiating the players in our primary. If we watch the actions of the players in our primary, it's clear that the teammate of the dribbler is moving towards her and we may have screening action. So that allows us to anticipate the play. When we judge this play, there's 2 factors to consider. When there is screening on a moving opponent, we must give time and distance for the opponent to change direction and avoid the screen. In the absence of time and distance, we have an illegal screen. But failing that on this play, if we evaluate the contact that occurs, rather than torso contact, which would have caused the black player to move backwards, we have leg contact, which causes the screener to twist in the spot. leg contact on a screener will always be ruled illegal contact by the screener, extending a leg outside the frame of their torso. Takeaways on the play: officiate players in your primary, anticipate the screening action, evaluate it according to rule, and get the play right. We have a rebounding play. It's just a phenomenal example of what we have to do as high school basketball officials. Look at the configuration on this court and how close the stands and the fans are to the end line. Oftentimes we're used to fighting for position with the cheerleaders, but we can always move them back. We got to officiate the game with the circumstances we have available to us. So we've got rebounding action post player, and a displacement foul is ruled on white. Let's look at the position of the calling official relative to the play. He's got the worst angle of any official on the court. Who has the best angle on this play? Trail. If there's an obvious foul during rebounding action, we would expect the trail to get this call, as the lead is just not in a great position to make it. If we were on a normal court, the lead official could take a step back and get better perspective on this play, but has no opportunity to do that here. So we may, in our pregame discussion, talk about what we need from outside officials on rebounding action, or just recognizing that the lead will not always be in the best position. When, as an official, we know we are not in the best position, I would suggest the best approach is to allow your crew to help you officiate the play. If there's an obvious foul on this play, we would expect the call to come from the trail. Takeaways: if the court you are working on presents a challenging situation, communicate that as a crew. Figure out a strategy for how you're going to deal with it on that night. When you are the official in the weak position, think about trusting your crew to help on obvious fouls that need to be called. Our number one objective in the game is to keep it safe and fair. If there's flagrant activity that occurs in the game, we want to be in a position to make judgments about that play. You could make a case that the biggest failure that we could have as a crew is unofficiated flagrant activity. There was flagrant activity, violent or savage contact, and we do not officiate the play. Sometimes there will be a violent and savage contact, and we will officiate it incorrectly. We won't rule it as flagrant, we'll rule it as intentional. But at least we are officiating the play. When plays like this happen and we don't officiate it, that's a big failure on the part of the crew. That's just the bottom line. Now, this gives us a chance to look at just fundamental basics of officiating and see anytime we miss plays, we always look back at the number one factor is most likely that we are out of position and not officiating what we're supposed to be doing, ball watching, as it were. So let's take a look at this play and just review what we're thinking about as a crew. This ball is in the Trail's primary. Trail has this on-ball matchup all the way to the basket. Lead has the secondary defender. Center should have these two defenders for the subsequent action. Pass to the wing. Whose play is this? The lead. Nothing there. Center's in great position on the on-ball matchup. And now he has another on-ball matchup. Center has the open look in great position. Watch the post player now move to a post position. What do we expect to have happen? Lead, rotate. Rotate and get there before this matchup sets up. And then we'll be in great position. No rotation. And ball watching. Okay, so we're a little out of position here. Trail has these 4 players off ball. Trail now has this on-ball matchup. But what we see this center doing, rather than officiate these 6 players on his side of the court, center starts watching the ball. Always what gets us into the most trouble. Now center is assuming this on-ball matchup. Play to the basket. Coach feels an offensive foul has occurred. Looks like the lead thought about it for a moment and decided not to. Fine. Ball is on this side of the floor when our violent and savage contact occurs. So let's remember that the coach is not making these demonstrative gestures relative to the flagrant foul. He's making these demonstrative gestures about this play here. This is first period action in a high school game. We need to make a decision about whether we're going to allow this kind of activity by the coach during live ball and then subsequently. At this point of the game, this kind of behavior would at least deserve a warning. You can disagree with the call. You can express that, but these gesticulations and action by the coach are not acceptable. And of course, addressing the coach is one thing, but what we have to do is officiate this flagrant foul at the top of the arc by being ball aware and focusing on the players in our primary coverage area. We can get these plays every time. Another super viral play that occurred in a D3 NCAA men's game. Last second, try for goal with 0.2 seconds on the clock, wiped off by the crew. Each crew member comes onto the floor wiping the shot. Obviously, the crew had gotten together and had a solid understanding of what they would do when certain things occurred. If we watch the play, this is a legal tap. Timing is not a factor in this situation. The only consideration is, did the player catch the ball or did the player tap the ball? If they catch the ball, the game is over. If they tap the ball, it's live. So the crew gets this one wrong. What can we learn from the mistakes of others so that when we are in this scenario, we're better prepared to deal with it? I watched the final 5 minutes or so of this game, and this crew was working hard for the game. That was evident. They were doing everything they could to support the game, getting plays right, getting timing right, being communicative, etc. But of course, at the end of the day, what we do at the end of the game makes all of that go away in the minds of the stakeholders of the game. I'll put a link below. The fact that all of the officials at the same time wiped the shot attempt means that they had gotten together and conferred and made a decision about what was going to be legal and what was not, and they were erroneous in their interpretation. The fact that all 3 of them were erroneous for something that by rule is legal suggests that one official said, this is what we're going to do, this is the rule, this is how we'll proceed. They went out on the court and they executed what they had planned. I would ask all officials to put themselves through a little exercise where they are in that huddle and one official says if they put 2 hands on the ball game's over. And whether your brain says that's not true If they catch the ball game is over. If that you were in that situation, would you nod your head and say, okay? Or are you going to fight for the correct ruling and therefore fight for the game? Are you going to have the courage to do that in that situation? Also ask yourself, you're the crew chief on the game. You say, if they put two hands on the ball game is over. And your younger partner says, no. If they catch the ball game is over. Are you going to listen to that partner? Let's say we discuss it. We have a plan. We're going to go execute. And then the play occurs. And your brain says, that's a legal play. I know we discussed it in the huddle, but that's a legal play. Are you going to fight for the game and say that's a legal play? We have to talk about this play. That's legal. Ask yourself that so that when it occurs in your game, you're better prepared to do the right thing. Let's always remember, the game is more important than the crew, and the crew is more important than you. If you put the game first, you are always operating from the strongest position. Fight for the game and get plays right. Because when we make a rules and misinterpretation, we don't do it as an individual. We do it as a crew. Our You Make the Call play last week was also a .2 play, and if this occurred in your high school game, boy, oh boy, would it be a moment where you needed to have rules knowledge, accurate information, and be really clear about what was going to happen next, because you're making a decision that's going to decide the game. If you're making a decision that's going to decide the game, you want to be 100% correct, and you want to be ready to do that as a crew, taking into account all the information that we talked about in the previous play. On this play, we have basket interference by rule. The player reached through the basket to contact the ball. Either an offensive player or a defensive player, that's illegal activity. This is an extremely unusual play, and the fact that it occurs from the throw-in makes it even more exotic and puts a little more pressure because our brain says, okay, throw-in rules can't go in the basket, right? It just adds a little bit. A throw-in contacting the ring makes our brain go, wait a minute, is that legal? So all these pressures come into the game. Super important that we use basketball language in discussing what happens next. If we have a player reaching through and contacting the basketball, that is basket interference by rule. We're going to score 2 points in high school. And again, we want to get everything right. When does the clock start by rule in high school? When it's legally touched in bounds. Was this ball legally touched? No. So we'd have .2 on the clock, score 2 points. Defensive team now has the ball for an end line throw-in, and they can move. And obviously we know their only opportunity to score would be on a tap. Your brain says, reach through the basket and contact the ball. Reach through the basket and contact the ball. Always fight for the game and put the game above your crew and above yourself.
First half. Pleased to bring you all these games for free here on CBS Sports Live. Looked like a goaltend against Merle Catholic, not called. The rebound went to Weston Ranch, Jordan Johnson.
Our You Make the Call play this week is a goaltending play. What do you have on this play? Goaltending or legal? You make the call. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around to the end. Much appreciated. You can hit subscribe below. We've got additional video content for you here to help you on your journey to being a better basketball official. See you in the next video.